You're here, which means that you've found Spirit Crumbs, leading you to your inner light worker. I will be sharing how these tiny little hints from the universe have led me to where I am today. I hope that by hearing my story and the stories of others, you'll pick up your own spirit crumbs along the way that will lead you to somewhere magical. Thanks for coming along for the journey. Let's see where it takes us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emily from Emily and Her Stars and Things That Make You Go Woo.
And I'm Andrea from Concrete and Crystals and Spirit Crumbs.
Welcome back. We're so excited to have you here for another Cosmic Energy update. We are getting ready to dive into Gemini season. It's exciting. We survived eclipses. Taurus came in and gave us a little nurturing love. And now Gemini is around the corner. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good about it. I think we definitely needed that Taurus energy to sort of calm everything down again. I still feel like I had the lingering effects from the eclipse. So, like, things are still finding their equilibrium. But I think Gemini season, I think what I need is that fresh energy feeling of just something new, something exciting. And I think that's what Gemini wants to bring in is just some little things to go through our mind just to sort of clear out whatever the old is, bring in some new. And I'm ready for it.
It is like that fresh breeze in the zodiac. I always think that, we get so excited with spring and Aries season, and Taurus is like, okay, slow down, savor it, enjoy it. And then, yeah, Gemini is this breeze that's like, what else are you going to try? What else can you go see? What else is there to know? And it can feel a little like a random squirrel. Like you can totally, it's not so much an overthinking sign as it is a thinking about everything sign.
Like everything's your favorite and you want to tell people about all of it. And I feel like I kind of need that. I think I've been really feeling stagnant with I feel like I've just been in that waiting mode of what else is going to get thrown at me since eclipse season. But I think that fun, curious energy of Gemini will be very welcomed at this point.
It was funny. We were talking about bringing media back, and this just hit me because we were going to both share something out there that has that energy. And literally, Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Is such Gemini energy. Like, I'm going to try all the sugary things, all on my plate. I'm going to be on the basketball team, all the things that are possible. That's a little bit of what Gemini is like. Like, just more is more, and it's exciting. And what else can we possibly explore and get into?
I love that. You know what that also makes me think of, even exploring the Buddy the Elf thing as it is the part where they get up the next morning and he made the rocking horse. And she's like, when did you have time to do that? Did you get any sleep? And he's like, I got a full 40 minutes. And he also got up and made a rocking horse and made spaghetti breakfast and was just that energy definitely feels like it.
It's exactly. And the feeling of and I'm going to take apart the entire um, system, the whole entertainment system to build the wood. I'll get creative. We got all sorts of ideas flowing through here.
I adore that. I love that so much for that energy. I think it's so fun. And that's exactly it. It's like he comes into their world too, like that Gemini energy, right? Like they're all stagnant and then they're boring daily routines. And then he comes in, just shakes it all up and brings some joy back.
Did you have an idea for what Gemini season brings in for you?
Yes, I actually had it come in very clearly from spirit when I sat down right before we went to record, actually. And I was just like, what is Gemini energy? And the song Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen came in because there's so many different tones and there's different parts. And it's like people wait for certain parts to do it and the energy changes. And I think it also is one that it feels like a group party song. I tend to, all my memories of that song mostly are from being with other people and seeing what other people's favorite part is and everyone doing things in sync. And it's just yeah, I feel like that for me is Gemini energy, that idea of 10 different things coexisting to make one masterpiece and, then having other people enjoy it and something that brings people together.
That's such a good description. This is the part of Gemini season we want you to embrace. And I think so often of all the signs, there's always a few signs that I think get really picked on. I think Gemini is one. I think Scorpio is one. And the reason I think poor Gemini gets picked on is because of that energy and that change of direction. People who are expecting something to stay consistent or like to have a heads up or a warning before something changes, Gemini can feel very frustrating because it's like this 180-degree turn came out of nowhere. And if you don't like Bohemian Rhapsody, chances are you're not going to like a Gemini. You need to move fast to keep up, and they're not attempting to lose you or to offend you, or the changes that come through what they're experiencing have nothing to do with any harm for you. They're not trying to be that black and white twin energy in a negative or harassing way. It's very much just living authentically in the moment and changing their mind and changing their direction at the spur of a thought. Nothing moves faster than thought, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So there's also this feeling of wanting to break information down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, which has us searching for answers in nearly everything. Also Gemini rules communication. So this is a time where we are getting involved in self-promotion, or maybe rewriting our offerings, or looking at things in new and exciting ways. So all of that funness on the horizon.
I love that. Yeah, breaking things down and sharing them. It's like I always have this picture in my head for Gemini when I think of like I was talking about in Cancer season how like inside jokes are like a Cancer thing, right? It's like you've got the kind of like witty thing, but then it's in like a way that makes you feel connected. But I feel like Gemini season, there's this energy of taking something and sharing it with your friends, like having a snack and then giving everyone some to make sure everyone can enjoy it. It's a loving thing, but it's a fun thing. It's like I don't know, breaking things into pieces just comes to mind. Sharing a pizza feels like a Gemini thing. Like, what can we get? Let's get a pizza and we can all take a piece instead of everyone having their own meal. It just feels like a fun way of sharing. Let's change up the toppings. Let's get 4 pizzas with 10 toppings and everybody split them, It just feels like for some reason that's coming up. So I don't know if it's just the fact that we start doing more outdoor things like potlucks and that kind of energy too. That's the other thing that comes to mind. For some reason, it always comes around food and family for me to come up with a reference. But I think outdoor potluck sort of energy is what I'm feeling, but with like 10 pizzas.
We have that natural flow through the zodiac too, where we go sort of, I would call it the extrovert introvert, or the yang and the yin, in and out and in and out, that breath that we take as we move all the way around. And yeah, we've had Aries out, Taurus in, and Gemini's out again, right before we're, of course, going to hit Cancer season and feel all that nostalgia come in and the slowing down. Right now, it's about outward expression, outward motion, moving things forward, and seeking change and excitement. So now is the time if you're looking to even come up with new ideas. We're going to have so much energy this month that is going to play to the cerebral part of ourselves, where we can tap into new ideas, look at things from new perspectives, explore concepts or ideas that we maybe thought weren't appropriate or weren't the direction we wanted to go. So to have fun in that part of the exploring this time.
Yeah, I totally feel like we need that. And I love that you were talking about the introvert, extrovert back and forth because that does resonate so much. And I think we all need to kind of have that balance because otherwise, if it's just like 6 extrovert seasons in a row, then the introverts are all going to be like shriveled up in a corner. And the opposite, if it's all introverted energy for a long time, then we'll all be isolated and probably just also shriveled up weirdos. So I feel like either way, like we need people, but we also need that time alone. So I love that you brought that up. I don't know if I've ever really thought about it that way in the way that we move through the seasons.
It's good. It keeps us balanced. And I like to think of it as the breath of the zodiac. Right? We have to have those moments of pause. And we had such that turning inside out of ourselves during eclipse season. And Taurus really comes along to allow us to have some slowness. Remember that our purpose here is to literally enjoy the physical world. And that can be very luxurious and all of those things, but it's also important to embody the body we live in. And so often, as light workers, as people on a spiritual journey of any kind, even looking to astrology or tarot for answers, it's very easy to get lost in the mind and in consciousness and other things and forget to take care of those reality pieces that keep us moving day in and day out.
Yeah, I definitely feel that connection back to the body. I was telling Emily actually at the end of tourist season, I'm feeling like my body has been asleep for like a week and my mind is just trying to keep going. But I feel that it's that rest that I didn't really take a full rest in tourist season, like my body was asking me to. So it's like, well, I'm going to rest whether you do or not in your mind. So I feel like I've just been like a blob sitting down and like working, but I haven't really been moving much. I hope that the next week or so leading into Gemini will be more movement and wanting to get out there and find new inspirations again, because I definitely am not doing that now.
Take advantage of that slow and rest because everything about Gemini season is going to be fast moving. So, this is your last weekend of Taurus to take a nap. I encourage you to take the nap.
Yes, always take the next. And then also, now that we're kind of ending one season and beginning the next, do you have offerings coming up, or is there anything going on in the library in Gemini season?
That's a lovely little segue. Thank you for asking. So of course I did a giveaway in Taurus season for my birthday and the Day of Miracles on May 18th. So we have a winner who was selected and is going to receive a free Akashic and astrology reading from me. I'm feeling really excited about that. So thank you to everyone who entered. And I'll probably end up doing that again. I don't know, maybe before next year. We'll see. But it was really, really fun to hear such lovely messages from everyone. We send our emails out and sometimes we think they go into a black hole and you hope that someone reads them. So it was nice to hear back from so many people. Speaking of Gemini season and business, I actually am rewriting and looking into my offerings, how they're working, what I'm going to change, if things are going to get updated a little bit. So between now and Cancer season, there will be some updates to the website and to my schedule and calendar. So that's all very exciting as new energy and things are coming in from, of course, eclipse and recovery season. And also some new and fun things I'm going to try out, some charm readings. So this is along the same lines of throwing bones and some traditional medicine healing modalities, but this is done with a collection of items that I've kind of been bringing into my awareness over the last year and a half, I think is when we started talking about that, Andrea. So, yeah, just some fun, new, and exciting things coming up. So, stay tuned. There'll be even more information next month. But yeah, we're kind of in a transition over here. And then Third Eye Library has also transitioned into House of Third Eye. We are specializing now in spiritual business owners who are looking to develop and work on their businesses in a place where soulpreneurs are at the front of everything that we offer, from development circles to meditation to business circles, where we literally talk about what things are working and not working and helping and supporting one another. So fun new changes there. You can still check us out at thirdeyelibrary.com until we get that domain changed over. And that will be houseofthirdeye.com. So yeah, exciting things. Of course, you can always come and try first month for free.
That is very exciting. I feel like Gemini season and that energy is going to be great for having changes, bringing new energy in. So that is super exciting, especially that transition into House of Third Eye. I think that's going to be really cool to have that like focused business energy all together. I think that's going to be a really amazing space. So I'm excited for that. For myself, I'm actually going to be away for a chunk of Gemini season. I am going to be at the Sacred Spirit Retreat with Spirit School from the 10th to the 14th. And then I'm staying in Squamish for a couple of days. And then when I come back, I'm actually, you're not going to believe this, Emily, going to take a couple weeks off where I'm not working, which hasn't happened. I'm not kidding. Other than COVID, I was going to say when, and I genuinely don't know when the last time was that I took time off. So, yeah.
If anyone could see my face, it's just, I'm stunned. I'm literally stunned.
Yeah, it's Danielle actually suggested it. I probably wouldn't have come up with that idea myself. But yeah, I was like, you know what? It is a really good time because the retreat will be great and then it'll give me some integration time. And then my mom's birthday is actually July 1st. So that'll be right at the tail end of it. And I'll get to spend some time with my family. I'm going to miss seeing my brothers for Mother's Day and Father's Day because I didn't go for Mother's Day because I'm doing my own weekend with my mom next weekend. And then Father's Day, I'll be in Squamish. So it'll be my first time seeing my brothers since Easter, too. So I'm excited for that. Cancer season, family time, that makes sense. But yeah, so I won't have a lot of openings in my bookings, but I will be doing the remote recharge on May 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And as per usual, there's no need to worry if that time doesn't work for you because it can be received anytime. And in Taurus season was the first month that I actually did the PDF download instead of just putting all the information in an email. And so it's the first one. So I enjoyed doing it. I'm going to do it again this time and see if the flow works for everyone doing it that way. But by doing it the next day, it gives me the time to put it into a nice format and create a table of contents for it and make it like one document you can revisit. And the first one is available on my website already. So if you're just looking for some Taurus energy, and the themes, I think it's just kind of a fun way to tune into the energy, even if you didn't do it in Taurus season, to be able to pick it up anytime because there were a few different themes that came up. I included the table of contents where you can purchase it so that you can kind of look, see if you're feeling those themes. But yeah, I feel like it's a fun way to do it because so many things come in each session. And I feel like it's overwhelming how long the emails we're getting because even me trying to find something I was talking about, I was like, I know I said that in here somewhere. And it just gets overwhelming. And if anyone is like me, if I'm finding it overwhelming and I'm the one that did it, I can only imagine what it's like to receive that. So that's been a really cool change. So I'll be doing that again this month. And then my newsletter is going to be out on the 28th. So there's still time to sign up if you haven't signed up yet, but I'm going to be sending it out with the cards from today's cosmic energy report as usual, as well as a few other fun things I like to include.
I'm so excited you're taking some time because I feel like it will refresh you. And I'm excited for you to get back into art and just having some you time. So, congratulations. I'm celebrating that for you. And I wanted to say how much I loved the PDF from the last session. It really transformed the information for me, and I found myself visiting it multiple times. So, yeah, if you guys haven't signed up for the recharge, I just cannot recommend them enough. It's something I look forward to every single season.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And like Emily said before, sometimes it feels like shouting into the void when you send something out, with the intention being that people don't have to interact. They can interact with it themselves in their own space, because that's how I like to receive things. But it also can be like, is anyone reading this? Is it resonating with people? So it is nice to have that feedback. And it was the first time doing it. So it was brand new. So I appreciate knowing that was an easier way for you to revisit it because I found myself looking at it, which is rare. Usually I'm like, I've sent it out, it's out, it's an email. I don't want to look at emails, but yeah, I feel like it was a way to also see the themes separately as well. Also, I just want to mention a couple of the themes snuck their way into the Gemini cards. So it'll be a way for you to sort of, I highlighted them. So you'll be able to see the types of themes that come through in addition to the crystals and plants that show up.
Speaking of, did you reshuffle your cards for Gemini season? Did you have jumpers? Where did we land with Gemini season energy?
I very much love that this has become part of it. It's like the divination tool. It's like the groundhog seeing its shadow. And so it's like this month, I did not put them back in. I pulled them out once and they just stayed. I went, you know what? That does feel right. So I think we're on a roll now where I just feel like this Gemini energy is coming in with purpose. It just they all felt very purposeful and it reflected a lot of themes that I was already feeling into. So I'm excited for it. Are we ready to get started with Gemini season?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Gemini season is from May 20th to June 20th this year. And from May 20th to the 25th, I pulled number 1 in the major arcana, the Magician. And if that sounds familiar and it seems like I'm repeating myself, it's because last month we had that for the week leading up to the April 8th eclipse. And the energy around that really felt powerful leading into eclipse season with like a transformation and creating things and being open to energy coming in. And in this way, we're kind of, I feel like, wrapping up that cycle and kind of closing out a lot of stuff. And it's interesting because where we left off in Taurus season was the last week of Taurus season was the Nine of Cups, which is already a very good card, like wish fulfillment, bringing in a lot of the things that we were looking for. And so this feels like whatever was happening where maybe you didn't have the emotional attachment to the abundance like we were talking about, and things aren't quite showing up, and you know it's yourself holding you back. So this is your opportunity to transform that, to see what you need to do to move forward. And this really feels like that, again, that transition energy of like, okay, we're almost there. I know that it's me holding this back, and I just need to move some stuff out, whether it's beliefs, whether it's actual stuff, whether it's just energy you need to move. But in order to have new energy come in. So that energy I was feeling around Gemini season, bringing a fresh energy in, that's what this felt like. Like it's the number one. It's not the fool. You've already taken the leap, but it's like you need to do the thing. It's like, okay, I'm mentally there. I'm willing to do it. I'm putting myself out there, but then I need to keep doing the thing. I can't just wait for something to happen. And also keeping in mind, you have all the magic. You have everything you need. That's the whole point of the magician. So we may have had some turmoil over the last month or so, being like, can I do this? Should I do this? Is this too big? But it's just needing to trust yourself and take the first step into it. But I think with leaving Taurus season, we slowed ourselves down a little bit. We were going a little bit too fast in Aries season, then we slowed down. So maybe we've gotten too slow and now we need to like speed up again and start taking that step. So it could just be a natural transition energy as well. So if you're not feeling like you need to make a huge magical shift and you just feel like things are already going, that Nine of Cups did show up for you and you were feeling the abundance, you were feeling really good at the end of Taurus season, then maybe it's just a natural transition into what's next, what's new. That could be more how it's feeling for you. I feel like sometimes these major arcana cards show up and you're like, oh, am I supposed to have a major life change now? But sometimes it's just an acknowledgement of like where you are in your own cycles and like what part of the cycle you're at. Maybe you're bored right now and you need something new to focus on. And that could be where that energy comes in to help you create something new. And then two things sort of came up with that. So in the card, there's like a whirlpool happening. And so the energy, the phrase that came up was like stirring things up. And we kind of said this already in our description of Gemini. I was like, sometimes they just stir things up. And it's like playing devil's advocate or like, maybe just bringing up a point that no one else thought of. And so that energy could come through conversation, through putting yourself out there a little bit again and poking yourself out of your Taurus comfort zone. And then it also really had the energy of the Page of Wands, which is always the card that shows up for me for Gemini season. It's just this energy of like messenger energy, bringing in new ideas, bringing in some creativity, some inspiration. And that with the magician of like, you already have everything you need. You just need the idea of what to do with it. That's the missing piece. I have all these things. I have all this brain power. I have the energy, but like, what am I going to do with it? And so the phrase that came up with this was infusion of inspiration. So it's just letting that come in, however it's meant to come into your energy field in order to move forward.
I love that. I think that's spot on. And I will say that, interestingly enough, we had, of course, the new moon in Taurus was on the 7th, and then we have the full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd. And that combined new moon, full moon cycle will really put a bookend into the eclipse. So it absolutely is the end of that cycle. So love that the magician came back to visit us. On May 20th, of course, we have the sun shining its welcoming rays into social butterfly and air-driven Gemini, which is really calling you to connect and collaborate with all kinds of kindred spirit. Gemini rules words, and that tricky thing when we share what we hold close to our hearts in spirit with our sometimes overly rational brains. So Gemini gets called out for pivoting and changing its mind, but how can you not be impossibly excited when ideas are sparking and dialogue is flowing? The trick to harnessing this energy is to take notes, ideas, downloads, insights, channeled messages, no matter how you receive ideas during Gemini season. Just make note and don't stop the flow. There will be plenty of time to analyze these, use them, or discard them if they no longer align. But whatever you do, don't shut down and overanalyze right now. We've waited too long for the energies to open a window for aligned action, and now is not the time to take a break. On May 22nd, we have the Sun and attention grabbing Gemini, and Pluto is in secretive Aquarius. And these two forces are going to play up against each other's strengths. So during this trine, you're going to find people drawn to you no matter how much you feel like staying hidden and secluded. Let the Aquarius energy encourage you to look at something from an entirely new angle and let breakthroughs pour in. Venus will also be kissing expansive Jupiter at the final degrees of Taurus. And this is encouraging you one more time to relish the tangible beauty all around you. This once a year moment opens our hearts and calls for the spirit of generosity. This energy will build through the wee early morning hours of tomorrow as well. On May 23rd, we have a very busy day. Until June 17th, Venus is going to again stroll into communicative Gemini, bringing you a deep-rooted need to get social and start connecting again. With Venus in this curious sign, the urge to experiment will be strong, so allow yourself to flutter between projects and don't get frustrated when you lose interest. Venus in the final degrees of Taurus will make a harmonious angle with Neptune in Pisces and an amplified and expansive Jupiter. And this is going to create this sort of burst of technicolor dreams and creativity. Just be careful not to get lost in that fantasy realm. This feel-good energy feels indulgent, but don't forget you've come a long ways since the eclipse. So allow yourself to enjoy these moments. Ground down into gratitude with a tiny bit of treat yourself. The full moon will be in visionary Sagittarius, adding to the potential for extra everything. Under the influence, remember nothing ventured, nothing gained. On May 24th, we have Jupiter and Neptune remaining locked in this harmonious angle, and it's creating a window for you to maximize your dreams. When this prosperous energy hits, allow the waves of possibility to wash over you. On May 25th, we have Power is Your Passion today, where Venus now in Gemini is going to sync up with Pluto in Aquarius. This lucky energy creates the opportunity for you to move comfortably towards a new vision of yourself in the world. I will pause here and say that we went through so much self-exploration during the eclipse and all of this Chiron work. This is when those lessons and things are starting to feel like they maybe had a purpose or we can put them to use in some way. Adding to this expansion is powerhouse Jupiter, and it's going to be making its annual shift into Gemini. After spending the last 12 months plodding along in practical, money-minded Taurus, Jupiter is ready for a new expansive era in Gemini. Ideas and intellect are about to explode, so now is the time to think about what your messages are and what you want to put out in the world. But don't start shooting off at the mouth without giving things some serious thought. Jupiter is actually in detriment in Gemini, meaning that some of the planet's whimsy will be a bit muffled here. Cancel culture will be ready to jump when people take the gift of gab too far. On May 29th, today and tomorrow, you're going to find Action Master Mars in a tight conjunction with Chiron in Aries. This amplification of a powerful and aggressive planet transiting across our collective wound in Aries creates a really wonderful opportunity to heal outdated patterns. But for those who aren't always as aware, it could also create a collective pain point that leaves some acting out. Is it a bear, a ghost, a pile of laundry? No matter what it is, it's a good time to turn on the lights, take a look, and make sure your fear isn't holding you back. And then on May 31st, we have a clever day as mindful Mercury and quirky Uranus meet up in Taurus. This could be a turning point for you and an important area in your life. An epiphany could be just outside the regular box of opportunities you've already been digging in. Experiment with technology and innovative ways to make your day-to-day duties more efficient. In luxurious Taurus, this meetup could also have you inspired to make aesthetic changes to just about everything. Let the creative winds blow you in a new direction.
That is a lot of energy, a lot of exciting energy. I feel like what you were saying about all of that energy up until like the 24th, 25th definitely reflects that magician energy. I think that's for sure what I was feeling into with so much going on. And that's why I was like, I feel like for some people it's going to be this, for some people it's going to be this. Like it depends on what one of those transits, I guess, is going to be hitting you the most at that point. And then where are we at the card? So for week 2 in the season, which is the 26th to June 1st, I have the star, which is the 17. And if you remember, last year in Cancer season was when this made its appearance really like very clear to us that it was going to be really important. And then we had that journey with hope over the last year where we've just been like, maybe we feel hopeful, cautiously optimistic. We weren't really sure about it most of the year. But I feel like the reason it's showing up at this point is to sort of say, you can just be hopeful now. We have done it. We have made it. We are now on the other side. We're still tethered to that energy. We are still in that energy right now. But what it's showing me is that we've been holding the vision. So we've had a lot of trust despite all of these delays. Even if at points we could barely see the star up in the sky that was that hope. But right now we're back to the point where it's very clear, it's very bright, and we're really still holding on to it. And what I was seeing with it is that at this point, what it's asking us to do is let ourselves shine, letting ourselves be the star. There was this transition where I can see in the image of it, there's a woman who has a string and the string is attached to the star. And what it was showing me is that it started out where we were the person holding on and we were like looking at that star. And that's what it was representing, like that hope that is out there. We're not there yet. It's coming. But it's like the star has kind of let that energy come back to us through the string. And now we are the star. And we're still tethered to it because if we need that energy, it's a two-way street. It's like your connection with spirit, your connection to your higher self. At times, you may feel already like you're glowing, you've got the energy, but then other times you just have to remember that that string's there. Even if all the energy has kind of gotten zapped back up again and you're kind of in your human, just remembering that you can always pull more of that energy down. And so what I was seeing was this image of like those cartoons and movies and things where they lasso the moon and then like pull it down. It was sort of that energy with the star where it's like, this is a time to be like pulling it down. Like we are going to embody that energy now. And we're still tethered to those dreams. Only now we're like, you know what? We have made it through. We're feeling more stable. We just got through Taurus season after the eclipses. And now we're like, okay, now I can do something with this. That magician energy is continuing into this, where it's, I know what I'm going to do with this now. And now I'm ready to take it on and to actually move forward with it. So any fears that you have about leaving the present behind may be what's holding you back from fully embodying it. But just remember that along with that energy, it's a 17. And so the 1 and the 7, as we discovered, creates an 8, which is abundance. And this is an 8 year. So we have to keep that in mind. This year is not all of this that we're going through. It's karma, it's a lot of change, but it's leading you somewhere. It's actually at the point in the cycle from 1 to 9 almost at the end. There's something coming and there's a purpose to all of this. We're learning all of these lessons so that when the abundance comes, when the opportunities come, we can hold them. We can actually have enough energy to move forward and to do something with it. So if you've been really questioning whether or not it's coming, just keep trusting. We've been holding on to that the whole time, but we're still here. So even if it takes a little bit longer, it doesn't feel as defeating as it has in the last while. Now it just feels like, okay, I'm getting a little more glimpses. The glimpses are now becoming more of like a bigger glowing energy where I can actually see it for a little bit longer. More of a vision, like I said before, holding the vision than it is just a glimpse. It's something I can fully see and feel when I put my energy into it. And then I'm going to go into week 3 because I feel like this energy directly leads into it. So from June 2nd to the 8th, is the 5 of Cups. And the 5 of Cups, I usually get a little bit nervous with it. It's similar with a lot of cards where I have a certain energy around it. And it has an energy of loss to it because there's this image of letting go. I'm actually getting like a sensation all down the left side of my face when I'm saying that. And I think we do tend to feel very activated when there's this idea of things that didn't work out, maybe disappointment, a lot of emotion behind it. But the other thing that I noticed very clearly when I felt into it, because it didn't really match up with all of the other energy I was feeling for this month. But it was what it was showing me, which I often forget with this card again, because I tend to go right to like, oh no, we're in loss. What it's showing you is that there's a full cup full of magic still right beside her. She's watching all of these cups that are emptied and spilled into the water. And there's nothing left, but there's still this other cup beside her. And that felt really energizing in a way because yes, you're letting go. There's things that you've kind of flushed away and you're not going to do anything with them. Maybe things you thought were going to work out didn't work out. Maybe eclipse season kind of wiped something away for you that you were looking forward to. But you can allow yourself to feel the grief, maybe some regret, maybe some emotion that's coming up. But it's a process. And the word process hit me differently with this, where it was like, we're processing emotions, but it's a process. It's part of the process. We don't stay in that. That's not the whole thing. You don't just sit in that energy forever. You have to move through the energy. The reason we call it processing emotions is because you're supposed to move on from that. You're not supposed to stay in that forever. And it just was so obvious. And when I felt it, but I don't think I've ever received that fully. When I thought of the idea of processing emotions, I've always thought of being in it, being like fully engulfed in whatever pain was moving through me. But the whole point of doing that is so that you come out the other side a little bit lighter. And so when I felt into that coming into this particular week, it felt like it was a slowdown that was a little bit delayed from Taurus season. So maybe if you were still riding on some Taurus, on the Aries energy and a lot of the eclipse energy, maybe this is just the chance for you to sort of catch up a little bit and take that breather. And it's more of a human week, is what I was feeling. Like this is more of just being back in your human. There's a lot of like fire and water that I felt in this season, and this is a water week. So this is a week where we're maybe a little bit more emotional, maybe feeling some things, but just keeping in mind that if you're feeling too attached to the past or too attached to the future, that like being in the right now is where you need to be. It's Gemini season. You could receive any insight at any time. You don't need to worry too much about the future and you don't need to linger in the past. I feel like it's almost like a flip where the lingering in the past would actually be what we'd be doing in Cancer season normally. And then the future planning might be more of a Taurus energy, looking at like your finances and all of those things. So we're kind of in this week feeling it all. And that's why it might feel overwhelming. It might be like an overflowing energy coming out of those cups. And then another really clear insight came up when I recognized that full cup at the end. And it was this idea of the glass half empty. And I was feeling it. I was like, why am I feeling glass half empty if there's a cup there? And it was showing me that the thing that Spirit said to me when I was feeling into it was, who says there's only one cup? And then I realized, oh my God, that's true. There's 4 cups that are empty, but there's a full cup beside her. And so it's showing that's one of the beautiful things about Gemini is like, just because one thing didn't work out, Geminis have 10 ideas in the wings. They don't really spend that much time in the process of breathing, in that process of processing emotion. That's why it's coming up in Gemini season. That's why it's coming up at this time, is because Geminis are good at just moving on to the next thought. They don't really feel the need to grieve in the same way that other signs do because they know very much that they are already excited. It opens up space for something they've been dying to do and they just didn't have time. And so I think that's where we're meant to sort of sit with that and say, how many glasses actually are there? Maybe over eclipse season and over the last while, some of those other cups got spilled. But if you keep staring at those empty cups and saying you're thirsty, it's like, hello, there's still these full ones right over here. And I think sometimes it can be frustrating to people around us if they're trying to offer us full glasses of things and you're like, but this one's empty. And it's okay. If you want to live in that world, that's cool. But I think that's where Gemini comes in to be like, do you not see all of these other things that are right here? And so that's sort of what I felt into this card. So I think it's actually changed my perception of this card entirely from looking at it this way, because I always feel a very dark energy with it. But I was like, who says it has to be that way? It just takes that focused attention to look at it long enough to be like, that's not actually what this card is about. And I think if we look at anything in our life that's maybe holding us back right now, that maybe the magician is trying to push through, And, that star was like, no, keep holding on. There's something there. This is the point where maybe you realize what that is, or you realize what needed to be let go, or you start to see what the bigger picture is. And I think it's actually an exciting moment because a 5 of Cups is still a five. It's still bringing some change. It's bringing some sort of freedom, even if it's emotional freedom in this case.
I think it's so interesting that all of that energy, those 2 weeks, feels so conjoined. There's something about them that it's really feels like a pivot point in some ways. And I think astrologically, we are collectively, so many felt kind of personally attacked through the eclipse, not to keep harping on it, but it was a pretty significant time period where nearly everyone experienced something. And we've had sort of this mass exodus now of pets. And just it feels like this opportunity where we are letting go of things, whether we wanted to or not. But it is in hopes of ushering in possibilities that we didn't even consider. And right away on June 2nd, we have this major power coming in. We have a once every 5 to 6 year transition when Jupiter and Pluto meet in a comfortable trine. So this is a triangular angle, but it's very harmonious. They're kind of supporting each other. And this energy is going to last from the 2nd through the 5th. Both planets are in air signs, so this energy is all about taking brilliant ideas to new audiences. You've likely been feeling more driven than ever to succeed. And with innovative approaches to old challenges, there's a permission slip to step into your new future. Be careful though, as some people may get aggressive if they feel you're holding them back. Two more beautiful and harmonious pairs of planets on the same day will add to this energy. Mindful Mercury and dreamy Neptune will help you to get in touch with the bigger picture and creative ideas, while the Sun and the North Node encourage you to reach the best potential version of yourself. Not to mention the Moon continuing in Aries, which helps to just keep you driven. So the 2nd is a really pivotal point. On June 3rd, we have Mercury, who has been hanging out in Taurus and keeping us slow, is now going to be zipping through talkative Gemini until June 17th. One of those two native signs where Mercury is happiest, it's going to be increasing the chatter in our minds. This is your sign to get some buzz going for your projects and to get out there and network, socialize, and connect with other people. This is also a great time to book trips, update vehicles, or put miles in on all in the name of like mental stimulation. It's the idea of getting out to see more. Peaceful Venus is also going to create harmony with the North Node today. And this combined with the moon that's plodding along in Taurus will have you looking at new ways to comfort yourself. The old standard isn't going to cut it during Gemini season. On the 4th, we have a few busy days this month, and this is another one. Clever Mercury and insightful Pluto are high-fiving in the sky today as they trine each other from air signs. Words and opinions could feel sharp and force you to have some hard conversations. Pluto likes to keep things just a tad hidden. So hold back a little bit and don't put everything you're thinking out there. Someone else's body language could actually say far more than their words if you're second guessing what's coming up. And then communicator Mercury and expansive Jupiter are going to blend their energy, giving you plenty to connect and chat about. And then don't forget the Sun and Venus are also uniting, where you'll likely find new insights to what you really want and find new ways to say it. This is a great time to work on messaging your personal brand. On June 5th, if your mind is still racing, take some time today to sit in the stillness. There will be a little bit of a quietness before the storm. On June 6th, we have kindred spirits coming out of the woodwork as this year's only new moon in Gemini is going to spark synergy. There are so many different ways to connect with others, but not all of those connections are here to truly nourish and support us. Gemini rules peer-to-peer relationships, so find ways to connect to those twins you have in your circle of friends. And then we're building some conflict with Saturn and Venus, so don't overshare, overgive, or overindulge. and invite people into your inner circle too fast.
That is a lot, but you know what? On brand for Gemini. Having overlapping transits and a couple really busy days and the rest of the days not so much. I feel like that's very on brand. I do really like that that's coming up in Gemini season. For the fourth week from June 9th to the 15th, I pulled the Three of Wands. And I feel like we do get this every so often. And it's this feeling of like, where is it? Where is the thing that I just started manifesting? So we're only at a 3 if we're looking at this on the number scale. So if you're thinking logically, it's like the 1 came in, we planted the seed. The 2, maybe you made the connections you needed to make. The 3, you're just all of a sudden like, why isn't it here? Right? It's still a creative energy though. The 3 still has a lot of collaboration energy, but in this card, we often aren't thinking of that. We're just being trusting that it's coming and that the universe is doing its thing. But it's interesting that you were talking about that connection energy because that's exactly what I was feeling with this. The first thing I wrote down was maybe you're tired of waiting, but connections or opportunities are coming. And then this is where one of the themes from the Taurus remote recharge came in because it was talking about the horizon. Because there's this in the card, there's the person looking out on the horizon, like waiting for the ship to come in. And it was one of my favorite themes that came up in the Taurus one because usually there's one theme that just feels more full, like it feels more fully fleshed out when I feel into it. And then I assume the other ones are like part of a story. But this one was because it was showing me that similar to this energy where sometimes you're in a lull where you're just like, I know I put things out there, but it feels like nothing's happening. I'm just sitting here. Or maybe you're just resting. Maybe in Taurus season, you've just been absolutely exhausted and letting yourself rest. But you may also be on the other side of that where you've been going, 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 and it just seems like nothing's working. You're not getting anywhere. And so the horizon is sort of this midpoint where it is something that both sides are looking for. So if you've been out on a ship exploring and pushing forward and looking for the destination, you're going to be looking for the horizon as the shore was specifically the theme. Here it was the horizon, but in the Taurus remote recharge, it was the idea of the shore as a meeting point. And what it was showing me was that like, if you're out on the boat and you're like, we haven't hit land yet, we have this plan. We have all our stuff. We've gathered the people. We've made all the stops. We're going to the destination. Where the hell is it? Like, who made this plan? And you're impatient and you're like, we're almost there. Like, the last part of a trip is always when you are just the most impatient. And then from the other side, if you've been on the shore waiting for that ship, if you're the one waiting for that ship to come in with the goods or the people or whatever it is you're going to need to get off the shore again, you're waiting for it to come over the horizon to see the ship on its way to you. So either way, waiting is not a bad thing and that you can keep looking to the horizon. So that star card that we keep coming back to, that's the perfect energy for that. It's like, you know that it's out there. We all see the same star. We all are waiting on the horizon. We may be at different places in the world and different places in the cycle, but whether you're pushing forward or you're resting, either way, you're sort of waiting for that next sign that you've made that connection. And that's what this Three of Wands feels like it's representing. Like, we're waiting for the connection of the thing to wash up on shore or to reach the shore if we've been pushing. So it doesn't matter. Like, I know sometimes it can feel overwhelming if you're like, it looks like everyone's out there doing their thing. They're all working so hard. And I've already put myself out there and I'm exhausted and I'm just waiting. You have just as much a chance of seeing something on the horizon or meeting the horizon or meeting the shore as the person who's out there doing the things. They're just at a different point of the cycle and they have a different approach to whatever it is they're doing. So it was just this really beautiful energy of like, either way, whether you're the one searching or you're the one waiting, just stop for a little bit to let the universe or your things you put in motion kind of like reset and let the current do the work. That's the other feeling that came in. Like, either way, the boat is being moved with the current. You're trying to go with the flow. And if you're out on the shore, if you start walking out, eventually it's going to get pretty deep and you're just going to be treading water, waiting for it to show up. So you might as well camp out on the shore and let it come to you. And either way, what I was also saying is because it's Gemini season, that idea of if you're waiting on the shore, the message in a bottle was showing where like, you don't know, you're not the one who gets to decide who put a message out when or how it gets to you, But the messenger feeling of Gemini is really coming through with this, where the connection and the person who brings the information to you at the right time, it's going to happen. Everyone's out there chatting now. Everyone's out yapping, sharing their stuff, and this is the season to actually open up and tune into podcasts again. Go on social media again. Go to the places you've been avoiding the last couple of months, because that's how you're going to see what everyone else is doing, and that's how other people are going to find you. So if you've been just waiting for the shore to be, either bringing something in or going out, I feel like this is the time for that.
It's that's so exact. This is a really strange week because we feel all this forward momentum and optimism. And suddenly this week hits and it's like, pump the brakes. And of course, there's some planetary reasons, but again, it is a very full week. So bear with me. The first thing we have, Venus and Saturn get ready to throw down and duel today. So Venus is in Gemini, looking to find connection. Saturn is in Pisces, and it's feeling very skeptical, to say the least. So together, it might feel like everything and everyone is against you when there doesn't seem to be any comfort anywhere. Find ways to support yourself, because peace and comfort won't likely come from outside of yourself. Then we also have Action Master Mars, and it's moving out of Aries, where it was so interesting because during Aries season, Mars was hanging out in Pisces, and it was this watery flow, like we just were stuck in our emotions. We couldn't move and process things. And then we got to Taurus season, it jumped into Aries, and it's like, okay, I'm moving forward. And now we're moving into the busyness of Gemini, and Mars is moving into Taurus. So we again get this we had these couple of weeks where we had the impact of everything moving fast, and now it's going to really kind of slow it down. So I'd say it's stomping into Taurus, and you're going to find yourself feeling the pressure to manage things better all the way until July 20th. Since Mars can ratchet up stress levels, it's important to soothe anxiety by slowing down and savoring simple pleasures like art, music, and nature. People may feel more cautious with their money unless you can provide them with practical and grounded solutions that are proven to work. Plans that felt aligned could suddenly feel too ambitious when regimented Saturn squares with the sun. So this semi-annual reality check might have you feeling discouraged, but it could just be a plateau and not the end of the road. Use Mercury in harmony with the North Node to find hidden opportunities that you might have missed. On the 11th, fiery Mars is going to form a contentious square with shadowy Pluto, and it's going to be spinning up the power struggles and aggression. If you've been feeling stuck, this could be the moment where you're forced to break out of your comfort zone in the name of evolution and growth. The good news is that Venus and Chiron are here to catch you with some beautiful flowing energy that can help you to heal and resolve any wounds that may arise. On the 12th, with yesterday's battle between Mars and Pluto still ringing in the air today, we add another match, and this time it's between Mercury and Saturn. If you're still trying to resolve a problem but can't seem to find a solution, mental Mercury and stubborn Saturn could be the final straw. Remember to take a deep breath and pause to assess everything before you throw in the towel and walk away. Instead of setting everything down all at once, try letting go of just what's slipping loose and tackle only what you can for a little bit. On the 13th, I encourage you to take a deep breath. What is feeling the most triggering to you right now? Is it money? Is it time? Is it knowledge or energy? Is that lack really true? Today, the Sun, Mercury, and Chiron are making some harmony pie in the sky for you. This healing energy brings in positive opportunities and healing connections for you. If you've had clients booked, today will feel particularly powerful for them. If you have the opportunity to receive, allow the amplification to help you sort through these unusual times. And on the 14th, we have the Sun and Mercury meeting up in Gemini, encouraging you to speak in compelling and charismatic ways. Your mind could quite literally feel illuminated and better able to focus all that has been swirling around. So it's a very busy, mentally stimulating week.
It feels like it's going to be exhausting, but also moving us somewhere. It's like it's exhausting with a purpose. So I do appreciate that. And I think that feeds into that idea of there's something coming in. The wave is coming. Even if that Taurus in Mars energy is slowing you down a little bit, it'll you're gonna be wishing for that when things start moving again. So let yourself be on the shore just chilling or just chilling on the boat. So for the ending of Gemini season from June 16th to the 20th, we have the Three of Cups. So this is 2 weeks in a row with a three. And this does feel like a continuation energy because the Three of Cups is about celebration and community. And in this deck, it talks about sacred siblings. So if you have friends who feel like family, this is the energy. And I think because we're leading into Cancer season and into solstice, that makes sense that we would have this as sort of a bridge where maybe you're not in like full on family home mode, but you want people who feel like home because maybe you are exhausted from the past week. Maybe you are needing to have some connections that feel stabilizing as opposed to everything feeling new. Maybe you need something that reminds you of home. So this feels like it's going to be a nice, easy transition. I feel like sometimes this transition from one season to the next can feel a bit abrupt or a bit like it's going to hit you really hard. But this feels like it's kind of a natural progression. So hopefully it feels that way. But really leaning on the people around you to get you through that last bit. So like that almost the reason I feel like these are also very connected is it feels like it can be very lonely when you're on this path and you're just sort of waiting and it's not like a maybe you aren't in a position where you know what the next steps are, you don't know when what the next promotion might be, you may not have those expected milestones, but just trust that the next thing for you is coming. But in the meantime, enjoy the people around you. Enjoy the chattiness before you go into that inner world of Cancer, and to let yourself be more open and share what it is that you're excited about. You may not want to give all the details to everyone in this energy, but you may want to share the things that are really lighting you up because that's one thing about a Gemini. If a Gemini is excited about something and telling you about it, you are going to feel like it was your idea and you are excited about it too. So really embrace that and let that like light, when you're in a conversation and everyone's just adding to it and every point makes it better, or even coming up with an idea of what to do or planning a trip. Emily was mentioning with like this Mercury and Gemini energy, that's what this feels like, where it's like no idea is a bad idea. Everyone's going to be adding in their piece, whatever it is they're really all about. And that's where I feel like that energy I was talking about at the beginning with Gemini being like the potluck or, ordering all the pizzas that make everybody happy. Maybe everyone is a different sign in your group, but Gemini is the one that can be like, pile all the ideas on. We'll make this work. And like everyone can sort of let their piece be shown. Maybe Taurus is bringing in the food and, maybe Cancer's picking the space. Like maybe they want to know where they're going to be to know they're going to be comfortable in the cottage or, in the Airbnb and let everyone contribute. And then Gemini can keep spitballing. If anybody gets stuck, the Gemini will come up with 77 other options for you. So that's sort of the energy that I feel for this week. It may also feel like a calm energy. You may want some time to reflect. It's a cups card, it's an emotion card. But if you have the opportunity to plan something, even if the plans are for later on, the energy of this week will really make you feel excited. And maybe it'll keep you from going right deep down into a Cancer dive into the emotions and still carry some of that fun energy forward. So fill up your cups. Again, we're going back to that energy of the Five of Cups where we're feeling like all the cups have been spilled. This is your opportunity to fill them back up again a little bit and start to remember the things that fill your cup. Sometimes you just forget what it is that you need to do to fill them. Sometimes you're just aimlessly doing a bunch of things that aren't even what bring you joy. So let your friends remind you. Ask your friends, like, what is it that usually makes me feel better? What is it that I need to do? And then do that for each other. And then maybe that's where the idea for the plan to do something together will come from. Is that idea of just reaching out and being like, hey, I'm kind of stuck here. What do you think I could do to move out of it? And again, a very Gemini thing. Gemini can spitball, can come up with ideas. Brainstorming is a Gemini's dream. So reach out to someone while we're all in this energy because it's not very often that we all have this infusion of the Gemini and Mercury energy going on.
I'm just envisioning my husband's birth chart, and He never listens to this podcast, so I'll totally share. But it's this feeling of he has a Gemini sun and a lot of heavy Cancer placements, and that feeling of everyone I meet and makes me excited, I want them to feel like my people, and sometimes they aren't aligned to be your people. Sometimes those connections are meant to just be surface and not family level. And so if you feel any of that burnout or like you're missing those connections, this feeling of moving back into Cancer is really about coming back home to those that are going to support you. Like you said, to reach out to those that can see the real part of you. So the 16th, we're really feeling still some of that residual confusion and chaos. Venus is going to be aligning with foggy Neptune, and they're actually at odds, making it difficult to discern what's real and what's in your head. So if your emotions overwhelm you, and they could today, do some self-soothing and confide only in trusted sources. Remember, feelings aren't facts, but we still have to experience them and move through them. On June 17th, who wants a hug? Summer is going to get off to a nostalgic start early as love planet Venus moves into sentimental Cancer until July 11th. Enough talking already. It's time to get out of your head and let those deeper feelings emerge. Affectionate Venus in touchy-feely Cancer has us all wanting to be cuddled. Cancer rules the home, so maximize gathering and comfort. Today's battle in the sky is brought to you by communicator Mercury and foggy Neptune, leading to fuzzy thinking and more emotions than logic. Speaking of logic, Mercury moves into Cancer as well until July 2nd, leaving you feeling extra vulnerable. And then we really kind of have some quietness for the 18th and 19th, and then the sun moves into Cancer on the 20th. So we actually get a precursor of Cancer energy with Venus and Mercury jumping in so early. And Mercury is going to be flying through Cancer, and we're actually going to experience a retrograde coming up in Leo season where it will go back and forth between Leo and Cancer a little bit. So there's lots of things here to explore down the road, but yeah, make sure to nurture yourself a little by the end of Gemini season for sure.
I really love that those two planets are moving into Cancer because that's 100% that energy I was feeling. It's like we're still kind of in Gemini, but there's this idea of connecting and sharing and all of these things and wanting to feel home. So I do feel like we are going to have that, like, soothing sort of entry into Cancer season, which I think is going to be really beautiful. I just feel a really good energy around it. Solstice this year feels very powerful. I don't often connect too much with the solstices. Like I do. I'm a Capricorn and I have a Cancer moon. So obviously I have a lot of energy in those two particular points of the year. But I think because they're so natural to me all the time, I don't always feel it as powerfully as other people. And I never really thought about it until the last couple of years when we've been doing these podcasts and talking about these themes. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I've never really been a June person. It's never really felt a lot to me. The only thing I will say is that I love doing little trips in June because kids are still in school, people are still working. There's not a lot of people going on vacation yet, and yet it's still warm and it's starting to feel like summer. So it's like the best of both worlds. But I do feel this year there's something about the solstice. I don't know if it's just because this eclipse season was so heavy and it's the next really major point. Like the solstice is a really big deal every year. And so I feel like maybe that's what it is. Maybe we are going to have that, like, okay, we've been on our own and on an island and now we're ready to connect with people again. And maybe there's going to be some healing taking place. But I really do feel like solstice is going to be a really great time to connect with people. So with that transition from Gemini to Cancer, I think we're going to have a lot of really great connections happening with people over that period. It just feels powerful to me.
Well, and it's interesting. We've got Jupiter now having jumped out of Taurus and into Gemini for the whole next year. So we're bringing such an influence in connections that we're experiencing that solstice through the lens of connections. Where last year we were experiencing the solstice through the lens of, nourishment and slowing down. Like we've been constantly trying to kind of catch our breath since 2020. And this year there's a quickening that's going to come with that. But where we have Pluto moving into its new side, we have so many outer planets transiting that we finally are going to start to actually see tangible results for some of these things we've stayed cautiously optimistic for so long.
I am excited about it. And one thing I'm also excited about is that Emily and I are just about to record what you will be receiving later on, our Inviting Shadow episode. So if you recall, we did the Gaining Light first 6 months of the year. We split it up for all of our benefit because there was so much happening with those eclipses. And thank God Emily suggested that, because I don't think I could have handled anything past that at this point. And I think we needed to be this far away from it in order to really dive into the second, to have that integration period. So we're going to be covering July to December. And I'm very excited to see how the astrology looks because I have the cards pulled. And I think it'll be really kind of cool to get that preview at this point in the year. So we're going to be putting this out the first week of June so that it's ahead of solstice. You can have the heads up. But anybody who is interested in also having something tangible to hang on to for the next little while, we're going to do a PDF so that you have a page per month that has the card, the energy I was feeling, and then the main highlight from Emily's astrology. And we've never offered this before, but our newsletter subscribers will get it first. And then everyone else will have it available at solstice when it's really going to be more potent energy. But I'm really excited for this.
I love this idea. Thank you for suggesting it. And I'm really excited to share and give all of our listeners and our subscribers something tangible to see and to check in with month to month as we move through this next 6 months. We've already covered so much ground, like you said. I'm so thankful we didn't continue past solstice. And the next 6 are really going to set up some energy for change and exciting things coming down the line. So I'm ready to record and get that out to share with everyone. Like we said, we'll release it that first week of June, and that'll give you some time to listen and get caught up before the solstice hit. I just want to say thank you everyone for listening, and we'll get that episode out soon, and we'll be ready to talk to you about Cancer season in just a few weeks.
Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Spirit Crumbs. You can find me on Instagram for this podcast at Spirit Crumbs, or you can also find me at Concrete and Crystals for my own spiritual offerings and more tidbits about my own journey. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.